viewers, this is Lucy Jeffrey. I'm very excited to come back to you this fall. And we've been doing this show for the last 6 years, and I've enjoyed bringing you wonderful people, licensed professionals in Canada who have shared with us a lot of information. And today, I'm going to share with you or to bring to you a lawyer who is going to speak to us about several areas of law that he practices so we can get to understand how things are going here in Canada. And with that said, I would like to welcome you, Sumit, Garg. Welcome to the Entrepreneur TV show.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Thank you for having me here.
Good, good. Thank you for finding the time. Now, I wanted to start you off by asking you to let our viewers know about yourself. Before we go to your area of practice, people do business with people they know, like, and trust, and we want our viewers to get to know you first. Tell us about yourself before you became a lawyer.
Oh, perfect. So, yes, I was originally a CPA. So, actually, my professional journey began as a CPA, where I spent almost a decade helping my clients navigating complex tax matters. Over the time, I realized that the tax and law are inseparable, and especially when it comes to estate planning and wealth preservation. So my clients, or I would say the families I was dealing with, were not just asking about the numbers on the tax return. They actually needed wide knowledge about primary will, secondary will, I would say power of attorneys for health, for property, how to save probate fees in Ontario, setting up a family trust, alter ego trust, holdco structure, shareholders agreements, and many more complex topics related to estate planning and so on. And trust me, it was not easy for me to respond all those questions while I was just practicing as a CPA. That really inspired me to qualify as a lawyer. So today I serve my clients with dual perspective of a CPA and a lawyer, and bridging my technical tax knowledge with legal planning, especially in the area of estate and succession.
Wonderful. That's great that you decided to do that. Wonderful. So then, with that said, once we have understood you and why you decided to become a lawyer and coming from being a CPA, I would like to ask you that we start with some basic questions because you also practice wills and estate law. Um, what exactly is estate planning and why should Canadians make it a priority?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Estate planning is the process of ensuring that your assets, businesses, and legacy pass to the next generation efficiently with minimal tax and legal complications. In Canada, with increasing property values, blended families, and increasingly global wealth, it's no longer optional. Estate planning protects not only your wealth, but also family harmony. So, this is really important. I would say every Canadian should think about estate planning.
That's great. Great to know. Now, Smith, I wanted to, then people need to know about estate planning, and that estate planning incorporates several things, not only the will, right? And I wanted us to talk about power of attorney. Talking about a person before they die, because the will is after death, right? So
Yes.
it's addressing death and after. But when people are alive, they also need to plan, and I want you to talk to us about power of attorney for healthcare and power of attorney for properties and why people need to have that. And how many, is it from the age of 18 or what age do people need to have power of attorney?
Okay, great. No, that's a really good question. So, especially for the uh, yes, there are two type of power attorneys in Ontario specifically. One is the power attorney for personal care, and second one is the power attorney for property. So, if we talk about power attorney for property, that is something. So, when I say power attorney, that means it lets someone to make decision on your behalf, right? So basically, power attorney for property is basically all the matters which is related to the money, real estate, legal, financial. Someone can take the decision on your behalf. And when I talk about the power attorney for personal care, That is also very important. Someone is taking about care, decision related to your health, your personal care. Without this, maybe the hospitals or doctors may refuse the instructions. Sometimes we think our spouse or our kids would give the instructions to the doctor, but there are high chances maybe the hospital would not they take the instruction unless you have power of attorney for personal care in place. So I would say it is really required. It is very important in today's world, and I would say everyone should have this power of attorney. And there is it is you never know about the time, so there can be so many circumstances in your situation. There may be mental incapability. Today you are fine, definitely you can write your power of attorney, but tomorrow if there is some mental incapacity, then it is very difficult. So person should be of mental capacity to write a power of attorney. So before that, you should have that important piece of document in your record.
Thank you. Sumit, there's something I heard. I don't know how true this is, but feel free to let us know that if somebody doesn't have power of attorney for healthcare and they're on a life support in the hospital, then doctors, if the doctors feel that this person cannot be helped through the life support, they can put out the plug. Is it true that they can put out the plug if somebody doesn't have someone to speak for them through a power of
Exactly.
attorney?
Exactly, you are right. So, so you make a power attorney to a person who really takes care of you, who really understand you, who knows what are your values. So, someone like if for example, someone is on the life, or you can say deathbed, or he needs really a life-saving critical treatment, then definitely doctors would like to take a instruction from a person who has legal power of attorney, because they don't want to be responsible for any consequences. And it's not everything in the hands of doctor. They definitely can take chance, but they need the legal instructions from a authorized person. So that's why this is a really important piece of document.
Wonderful. And so I don't know if we talked about the age. What is the best age to do the power of attorney for people, for Canadians to prepare the power of attorney?
I would say power of attorney, at least when you are 18 years or 18 years of age, you should have that in place, because normally you are in the, so when you talk about personal care, the legal age is 16, and for power attorney for property it is 18. So as long as you are mentally incapable and you meet out these age, as I said, 16 for the power attorney for health and 18 for the power attorney for property, you should have that document in place.
Wonderful. And great to know that. So then let's talk about the will. Why people need to prepare the will in Canada, and what impact does it have on the family if somebody died without a will?
Yes. So as I said, power of attorney is come into picture when you are alive. On the other hand, wills come into picture when somebody is deceased. So let's understand it like this: without a will, uh, provincial laws decide who will inherit your assets. This often does not reflect personal wishes and can create unnecessary disputes, delays, and legal costs. For example, in Ontario, a spouse may not automatically inherit the entire estate if children exist. The result is delays, extra cost, higher taxes, lost opportunities for spousal rollovers and trust planning. So I always tell my clients, if you really want to document your wishes, will is the best way to record this. Otherwise, we have provincial laws which will take care of your assets, but those laws may not be your wishes. So that's why will is very important to have. Everybody should have the will in his lifetime.
Thank you, Sumit. So I want to ask you then, um, from your practice, what do you see as the biggest challenge or challenges for Canadians that are facing when it comes to estate planning? Are there any challenges that you see your clients
Oh,
facing or Canadians in general?
oh yes, Lucy. Um, I would say there are so many challenges. Estate planning, although it is not a new word, but nowadays everybody is talking about it. So the foremost challenge is taxation at death, which is due to deemed disposition of assets. This is how our Income Tax Act, or I would say Canada Revenue Agency, generates the revenue. So whenever there is a death, there is a presumption. There is a deemed disposition of all the assets, even if it is not actually sold, and there is a triggering of tax. Along with that, there is RRSP, RIF, which is the Retirement Income Fund, taxation, and there will also be a provincial probate cost. Okay, second, there are many evolving family dynamics. For example, like we have blended families in Canada. We have dependents with their special needs. There may be matrimonial claims by spouses of beneficiaries, and I would say this is one of the major concerns these days of all the parents. They are worried about the matrimonial claims by spouses of their kids, and there may be intergenerational conflicts. So I would say yes, estate planning is again these are all the challenges. Then third one, there are modern issues attached to the estate planning, especially the cross-border assets. There are many families which they own the assets in Ontario. They also have their vacation home in Florida. They have their properties, assets out of North America, maybe in Europe or Asia, and they need to plan everything in detail. So that is also part of estate planning. And then we have a biggest challenge, which is a digital property. Nowadays, people have so many assets digitally. So these families normally overlook until it is too late.
Thank you, Sumit. So I really wanted us to know a little bit more about tax planning. And we often hear about taxes at death. Most people hear about that, but don't have the actual details. Can you explain what taxes apply when someone passes away in Canada and how planning can reduce them? How can we reduce
Yes.
the taxes at death?
Yes, definitely, Lucy. I will try to explain, although it's very complex topic, but yes, I will try my best. So basically, so Canada has no estate or inheritance tax, just like US. But instead, we have Income Tax Act, which deems an individual to sold all the assets at fair market value immediately before death. So basically, that triggers capital gain tax. Um, Further, RRSPs, RIFs are fully taxable unless you roll it to the spouse or any dependent within the Income Tax Act. So, so this is one part of the estate tax, which technically is not estate but an income tax. Second tax we have in Ontario, which is the probate fees. So in general, estate has to pay 1.5% of the probate fees uh, of the fair market value of the assets held by the deceased person, and this amount may go in millions, depending upon the fair market value of the assets. So I would say without thoughtful estate planning, uh, uh, which may be spousal rollovers, it may be the use of the lifetime capital gain exemption, setting up the family trust with tax efficient way, or maybe the corporate reorganization for the business owners, whole life or permanent life insurance policies within the corporations, joint tenancy with clear instructions in primary will or secondary will. Uh, these taxes can often be deferred or substantially reduced.
Wonderful. Thank you, Samit. So I wanted to ask you, you have talked about probate fees. That's a very hot topic, right? We hear about that a lot, but not many people know about it. I would like you to take time and explain to us, in a little bit more details, what is probate fees? What exactly, like what properties affected by those? And how do they differ across the country? What are the strategies that families should use to minimize probate fees?
Yes, sure, Lucy. So yes, so probate fees is basically this is provincially regulated first of all. So and it is significant in Ontario and British Columbia in Canada. We have modest rate in Manitoba, and we have almost negligible in Alberta and Quebec. So, as I mentioned earlier, specifically in Ontario, we have 1.5% probate fees. So, basically, what is this? So, if you have will or you don't have will, you have to pay the probate fees. That is the first most important thing to understand. So, when we apply to the court for the certificate of estate administration, we call it a CETA. So, in this certificate, basically, court looks at the will and basically kind of certify that this is the last will of the testator, and whatever is the assets, the fair market value of the assets, we add all the value on a application, and court needs 1.5% fees to certify that this is the last will of the person, and unless you pay that fees, court will not issue that certificate. So it is kind of a mandatory uh, for the estate to pay that probate fees to the provincial court. So but there are few tools which you can use to basically, I would say, avoid or reduce the probate fees. Some of them are maybe the multiple wills. So when I say multiple wills, one is the primary will and second one is secondary will. So in the secondary will, you can escape the probate fees on your corporate assets. This is a very good tool specifically in Ontario. Then second, we have alter ego trust that can also save the probate fees specifically for seniors. Then we have joint ownership, and direct beneficiary designations can also reduce or even avoid probate while enhancing the privacy. So these are the few tools which you can use specifically in Ontario to save your probate fees.
Thank you. And Sumit, thank you for that explanation. I wanted to ask you about trust. I've served lawyers for 10 years. I keep listening, and sometimes we don't understand everything. So, what are trusts? And when do they sound complicated to lay people like me? And how do they actually help Canadian families in practical terms?
Right. Yeah, so I would say yes, trusts are not for everybody. This is, I always tell to my clients, but definitely you should look or meet a wills and estate lawyer to understand whether it makes sense for you or not. So trusts are actually one of the most versatile planning tools. They allow families to control how wealth is distributed, or how it protects vulnerable beneficiaries and minimize taxes. I would say, for example, uh, Hansen Trust for a child with disabilities, uh, a discretionary family trust to facilitate an estate freeze and multiply lifetime capital gain exemption, which is currently $1.25 million per shareholder. Or we have, as I mentioned earlier, to alter ego trust, uh, where you can bypass probate fees for seniors. So basically, this is the best way to, I would say, uh, you know, use the trust to avoid, I would say this is one of the good planning tool we have available in Canada, uh, especially for the estate planning. So there can be so many objectives, and for each different objective we have a different trust. As I said, discretionary trust, alter ego trust, we have a Henson trust for the disabilities. So there are like more than 100 types of trust we have in Canada. So depending upon the goals and objectives of the family, we can advise the different type of trust to the family.
Wonderful. So let me ask you then, Smith. Let's talk about businesses. You know, I serve businesses and I can't leave them out. I know we have talked about individuals. What exactly are the considerations that business owners and professionals need to have or to think about when it comes to succession and estate planning? Do they need to have two wills, one for business, one for personal? Please let us know.
Yeah, Lucy, I think yes, you are on the right track. You have already given one answer. They definitely should have the two wills. So let's just dive into it. Yes, so business succession carries a unique risk. And without planning, families may face double or triple taxation. So this is very important to understand. People think there will be only one taxation, deemed disposition at the time of death. No, especially when you have an asset which has accrued gain within the corporation. So there can be triple taxation. One at the corporate level, second when you are distributing the assets to the shareholder from the corporation, and third at the shareholder level. So there can be triple taxation, and this is true. And we have a latest court case in Ontario when a family has to pay the triple taxation, and there may be a scenario where the families may have to force sell the business too. So there are many techniques, I would say, to avoid this situation. Techniques, especially like estate freeze, Section 164(6) loss carryback. So I would not go more technical into it, but just touching up the few technical points or strategies, or maybe pipeline strategy, asset bump up, Section 85, 86 rollovers, buy sell agreements, purification strategies. They actually ensure smooth transfer of ownership while preserving the lifetime capital gain exemption. So, corporate owned life insurance is a powerful tool to provide liquidity for tax liabilities without impacting the business. So, again, a disclaimer, all the techniques which I spoke to, you need to check with your tax accountant, your tax lawyer. Don't take my piece of advice straight away from here. But these are the few strategies which a business owner or professional should always think about when they are planning for succession and estate planning.
Wonderful. And I like that you have issued a disclaimer because people should not go and quote you. This is really like very basic and general. Someone has
Yes.
to consult a lawyer to be able to have their specific answers that are
Yes.
specific to them. I wanted to ask you, you mentioned very briefly about digital property and people having properties outside in the country. Digital property, the world is changing so fast. We have things like cryptocurrency. Um, so what are the things that people should do and cross-border assets and all that to make sure that all that is put into consideration during estate planning?
Yes. So, yes, Lucy, again, properties like cryptocurrency, digital properties. Yes, this is a very hot topic, and these are modern issues nowadays. So, cross-border assets may expose Canadians to U.S. estate tax, and people definitely. I see a lot of people. They have their vacation properties in U.S. or they have their bank accounts in U.S. or in any other countries, or they're back home because Canada is the country of immigrants, so we have the cross-border assets. So it is very important to understand the foreign reporting requirements as per the Canadian laws, and there may be a double taxation too. Proper structuring like cross-border wills, very important. Then applying tax treaty between the countries. So we always have like not always, but most of the countries have the double tax avoidance agreement with the Canada, and use of holding entities. These are the tools that may help in preserving wealth. Then let's talk about digital assets. Very important digital assets such as personal photos, videos, emails, or maybe social media accounts like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or maybe the online documents, cryptocurrency, even personal data on USB drive, then oftenly disappear without adequate planning. So, and I have seen even the fights between the families for those digital assets sometimes. So a person should plan everything to safeguard those digital assets. So by incorporating digital assets provision in your will and power attorney, families can ensure they have access to the assets and can even protect those assets for the next generations.
You know what? That's a great idea. I didn't think about it, right? There are some people like myself, I feel like I've developed my social media so much that
Yes,
I'll never want it to disappear just because I've passed, right? So thank you.
exactly.
But you have brought a very important point about cross-border treaties between Canada and other countries. That
Yes,
helps that people, Canadians, are not paying tax, double taxes. Do you want to
exactly.
tell us in 1 minute about that cross-border taxes? What
Yeah.
happens if, for instance, US people have properties in US and Canada and US have cross-border treaties? That means that if you're paying taxes in the US, you don't have to pay those taxes in Canada. Does that
Yes.
make sense? Please help us to understand.
Yeah, yeah, no worries, no worries. So I am also a US CPA, and a CPA in Canada. So I can give you a brief suggestion on this. So basically, every country has their right, sovereignty to tax the income generating from their own country. For example, you are generating a rental income in US from a property in US, or you are generating a business revenue from US, but there are laws, like the both countries have agreed on terms and condition who will be the charging country. So if um, Canadian resident is generating income from US from some sources, so there are rules, different rules for different source of income, but there are rules where only one country can charge the tax. So if any tax is deducted in US, let's say, then Canada will give the credit for that taxes and will charge less tax. So technically, you are not charged double taxation. This is the gist of this.
Thank you. And Smith, you are very well qualified, and I put it on the screen. You are qualified in Canada, you are qualified in the US, you are qualified in India. I think the amount of knowledge that you have, we can't finish it in 1 day. We have to invite you another time. Wonderful. Thank you, Smith. We don't have much time. I just want to ask you in 1 minute. You have been a member of the Entrepreneur Nation, and that's how I met with you. How is it working for you to help you grow your practice and get more people who can help you to serve the members? Because we are a referral group, right? You don't have to go and do every degree now. You
Yes.
have people, if a client asks something and you can't answer, you have people you can refer to. How do you find it working for you?
Yes, Lucy, I really appreciate, first of all, I become the part of the TN. The Entrepreneur Nation has really helped me a lot. I would say this provides a platform to collaborate with the many professionals working in different areas in our society. And if I recall, like, I have spoken and I've really learned a lot about like mortgage industry, uh, real estate agents, someone who is doing into marketing. There's so many things to learn from different professionals, and I have so many resources now to refer. So it allows me to connect my clients with a right network of trusted experts when they receive the holistic, not piecemeal advice. So ultimately, it helps my ability to deliver comprehensive estate and tax planning solution to Canadians, my clients, and I'm really happy to be part of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate your time, Sumit. And if we find more information, we'll reach out to you and our viewers. Thank you so much for watching.